welcome back to another episode of Moving the Mountain, a creative leadership podcast. Today's guest, Brian Arnold.
It's a whole different world when you put these on. Wow.
It's very different, very different. So, Brian, how are you?
I'm good. I'm all right.
You doing all right? So this week's episode is brought to you by Topo Chico, correct? There we go.
I was really looking forward to trying this because I've never tried these.
This is with a twist of lime. So
I saw that. A twist. It's just a little twist of it.
it's good.
That is really good.
That's good, right?
Where is this from? A product of Mexico. Wow.
Yeah, we try every week. We try out a different beverage. I think we're doubling down on these though because these are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are good. I noticed the crew drinking them out there.
It's a favorite. It's a crowd favorite.
It's definitely favorite. That's for sure.
We have a special guest with us today.
Oh yeah.
You brought your dog.
Come on, buddy. Oh, maybe I can give it a look over here. Ready? Oh.
Brian, you are a wedding photographer, but you also do a lot of portraiture work and commercial work as well.
Yes.
Why don't you give us like a little bit of a breakdown of what you do? A couple of things that actually stand out about you to me is compared to other photographers is two things actually. You went to school for photography at Hallmark.
Yeah.
And the other is you tend to gravitate towards off-camera flash, where I feel like a lot of wedding photographers, a little adverse to flash and they're more about natural light. So, why don't you give us like the inside scoop about what you do and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, so I started in high school actually with video, and kind of similar to how a lot of people start with just filming dumb videos with their friends. And I had a
Skateboard videos?
and skateboard videos. I was gonna say skateboard videos, and I had a VX 2100 with the mini DV tapes. But I decided I wanted to go to school for video editing and started on a bachelor's degree for cinema and video production. And then like after 3 semesters, I decided I wanted to do photography because that was my minor, but they didn't have a major in photography. So I just decided to go to a 1-year school instead, Hallmark Institute of Photography in Western Mass. Shout out Tiana out there. Like, that's where she
she's
went.
Another one.
What's that?
Yeah, she's another one that went to school.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Hallmark. I miss it. But
Did NESOP go under too?
I think they're actually doing well. From
okay.
Last I heard, maybe they're under new ownership. I know there was some sort of change, but I do think they're still in existence.
Okay.
Most likely under the same name, but you'd have to look it up. I don't want to get anything wrong on record. But yeah. So Hallmark was awesome. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I have an understanding of flash like I do. We had great instructors like Gregory Heisler, David Turner, both like incredible photographers, and others who were just great teachers of it. And we had classes about blending strobe with ambient light and like bringing flash on location, and just being empowered by what you can do with it, and not being afraid of any lighting scenario because you have the tools and the knowledge to actually manipulate what you're given by nature, like what nature gives you. You're empowered to create your own lighting in terrible situations. But
is that why you gravitate more towards off-camera flash? Not that you don't use natural light flash throughout the day, but I mean, I remember you even did like an engagement session in broad daylight and you're popping off some flash photos. So
I mean, yes, kind of the reason that I do it is yes because I know how. But I mean, obviously, if I didn't know how, I wouldn't do it. But the other reason is, I mean, like natural light isn't perfect. Like if you can, sometimes it's great. I saw a funny meme of there was this guy. I think it was something that happened on the news or with some celebrity, but it was the guy on a table and really mad, and people were holding him back, and he was angry. And the caption was, when you tell an off-camera flash photographer that the natural light is enough, and they're like, no, we need to use flash. But like, some people are like that,
Maybe
like,
we could find that meme.
yeah, maybe we put it on the, yeah. It was on the memes for Togs Instagram page,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, I like
yeah, no,
that.
some people absolutely just use it all the time.
Mhm.
There's the photographers who have the on camera flash in broad daylight, and I'm like, and they're so far away from their subject. I just, I don't say anything. Everyone's at their own stage in photography,
Mhm.
but it's like some people just like pop the flash like all the time, and it's like, it's not doing anything. But I don't really say anything, because like I said, we all have our own techniques and everything. But
Yeah. I don't
but
know if this is the same question,
I
but
don't know
why do you
where I
feel
was
like
going with that.
yeah, why do you feel like you gravitate towards the off-camera flash?
Yeah, so I think that was a rabbit trail to answer that question. Just the fact that natural light isn't, like, for example, these lighting, like the lights you have set up for the podcast.
Mhm.
um Before you set these up, the lighting in here was, despite brightness, because that's a whole nother topic, but
Mhm.
like as just the light pattern and the temperature of light, more so the lighting pattern, like where the light's coming from and where the shadows are falling on a face. Like if you turn these lights off, we have like the doorway over there that's the main light source,
Right.
and the light pattern is different. It's going to look different. Like you can use the same principles. It doesn't, like with continuous lighting that you do with flash. The lighting, when you don't manipulate it yourself,
Mhm.
you're just working with what you've been given, and the natural light is not always great. Like,
Right.
I mean, it is what it is,
Right.
and it's your choice to be able to manipulate that, and knowing how to do it is empowering. That's like the perfect word for it. Like you feel confident
Mhm.
and you're not afraid of different scenarios. But
Do you feel like do you feel like it's valuable for other photographers to learn off-camera flash? Do you feel like it's a necessity?
no.
Do you feel like it's more of a stylistic choice?
So the reason I say it's not a necessity is because there are levels of photographers. Like there are all kinds of levels of photographers. So like someone who's, just getting started with a little more casual or whatever. Like even if you call yourself a professional, like there are no rules to this. Like
Mm.
it's photography. Like you can call yourself a experienced professional who's like, top tier, all that, and not know off camera flash. And yeah, you can say that all you like. There's no rules. But at the end of the day, it's like there's certain expectations in the industry to where, if, like, for example, if I'm hiring a associate shooter to go shoot a wedding for me because I can't do it, and
Mhm.
they're asking for this amount of money, and it's like, well, that's if that's way above the industry standard. Like, what if you are at a wedding and there's a sunset, and the couple wants a photo in front of the sunset, and you're either gonna silhouette them because like the sunset's so bright and you want to see the sunset,
Mhm.
or you're gonna have the sunset blown out so you can see the couple because you don't have off-camera flash. So you have to make that choice because you don't know how to use off-camera flash. And so it's like, yeah, like that's not a necessity to know how to do that, but there are certain expectations that come with that, like.
I would say even more so, like if you are with your brand, if you are hiring an associate photographer, you want them to be able to execute on your type of photography. So it's almost a necessity. And I understand what you're saying
From a
with like,
branding point.
some photographers will charge or overcharge and maybe not even have all the skills that like might be, you know, uh, kind of required, I
And that's
guess.
just one skill, I gotta say. Like I can't say that that's the deal breaker, because
Right.
someone could have amazing skills in a lot of other
Yeah.
areas.
Posing. Right.
Posing and just being presentable and like having, client relationship and being professional and on time and getting the shot list and,
Yeah.
working hard, all that.
That brings me to a good segue here is like what do you really when you're hiring associate shooters, what do you really look for when hiring?
Hmm. Honestly, I think some of my OCD gets the best of me.
Hmm.
Um, the main things, the most important things that really like drive me crazy, um, are like composition
Mhm.
and not knowing that you should shoot with a little bit higher of a shutter speed if someone's walking and running around and like little technical things. But
Yeah.
I tend to like inflate those in my mind and really look for like know what you're doing with in the technical
I
sense.
don't know if those are inflated because I agree with you. I feel like
Kind
those are the two biggest things which are overlooked. Like, and I think composition is kind of an easy one, but I'm always surprised on like how often that's overlooked.
yeah,
And I think people complicate composition more than it needs to be. Um, and yeah, shutter speed.
yeah.
It's like most people, well, what's your like bottom line for shutter speed? 250, 200
It depends on what you're shooting. It
to,
all
to like
depends on
freeze
what you're.
motion though.
So if I'm shooting, for example, probably the most action packed moment of the day, I'm thinking like if I'm working with mostly ambient light, probably the most high energy part of the day that you're working with ambient light still.
Hmm.
Obviously, it depends on the venue, but let's say you're in a tent where it's like, the sun's still out, a lot of ambient light, and they're doing introductions to the reception, and they're running in and doing a dance and doing something funny. It's like you can't like you can overpower the ambient with your flash to try to freeze motion because the flash duration is so short. And you can if you overpower the ambient light with that flash,
Hmm.
then like your shutter speed doesn't have to be so high. In fact,
Right.
it can't be that high because of the
It can't go over
sync
200.
speed unless you're a high speed sync, and then you have to blast your flash even more powerfully. But um, so you're working with ambient light, freezing them, and you don't know what they're gonna do. They could walk in slowly, like the parents introducing the parents, or they could run in and do a dance. So like I'm probably at least 500 if they're running if they're coming into the room, like running into the room,
Really?
because you don't know what they're gonna do. I mean,
Right. That's true.
and I don't want to have to worry about it. Like especially with cameras these days, crank it. It's what like 4 or 5 clicks of ISO. Maybe a stop and a half. Maybe what's that? 5 clicks or whatever of the ISO. Turn it up and then crank the shutter. 4 or 5 clicks,
Hmm.
and you go from what 150 to 400, 500, just like that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between like a photo that you cannot fix and a photo that you can put a tiny bit of noise reduction and it's great.
Hmm.
You can't fix motion blur,
Right.
unintended motion
Right.
blur.
You can fix grain a little.
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah. So, okay, going back to what you look for when hiring an associate shooter. So, composition is really important to you. Basic camera settings with,
Yeah.
shutter and whatnot. What are some other like characteristics that you're really looking for?
Uh, mm, like I said, being able to shoot in situations that you need to know certain things to shoot in, like like for like a lot of times clients will hire me for photo and video because my website has both because I do both. So they'll inquire about both, and I have a few people that I have as associate shooters that I always go to.
Hmm.
We worked together for a while, and at the end of the day, and those few people, like I don't have to really babysit them, and that's kind of why I prefer to work with them.
Hmm.
But like if I'm having to hire like someone I've never worked with before, and I have to kind of like babysit them through these like difficult situations, like oh, like you don't know how to. The sunset is just like an easy example. So like the sunset shot, like to get a certain look, like maybe the client doesn't want that look, but maybe they do, and if they do, it's like to get that look, you need to know XYZ, and like if you're charging top, top of the line, top tier, like what the industry standard is for associate shooting, and you don't know how to do that. And I have to bring my flash equipment, even though I'm doing video that day, and I have to bring my flash equipment so that I
Right.
can take over and do that photo for you.
Right.
Like, it's like, I'll hire you, but like, you're probably not going to get hired again at that price. I
Yeah.
mean, not that it's all about money, and I don't mean to sound like a hard.
No. Yeah. What's a good term for
I gotta
a
lean into
boss like
this.
that?
I gotta lean into this. We're
Demanding.
getting we're
You
getting
know. Yeah, we're getting into
spicy.
this. Yeah.
How's the
Um,
composition?
I
Is
think
composition
I
still
think
good
that's
now?
totally fair.
Yeah,
I think that's totally fair that
yeah,
you got to hold a standard, and
yeah.
why should you pay top tier for somebody that is a novice?
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
or lacks the ability. It's just that's common sense.
And like I said, someone might have 6, 7 years experience, be phenomenal with all of the other things that a wedding
Hmm.
photographer is, because there are a lot more things than just using flash. I don't mean to say that's the most important thing. Like, and you know, in those exceptions, it's like, yeah, maybe they are worth that, you know. But
Right.
sometimes it's like, well, if you have 4 or 5 of these things that are red flags, it's just like, you know, you're gonna invest in your knowledge.
Do you feel like people overcharge in this industry?
Um, that's such a loaded question
It
because
really is. We're getting some
I
angry comments.
oh man. I think here's what I think. If I don't really like if I am gonna charge $8,000 $9,000 for a photography package for an all day package, and I'm saying this is what I'm worth. I'm not worth anything less than this. I think people can charge whatever they want. Um, the question is, if I'm sitting here charging $8,000 and I'm someone that doesn't know XYZ or isn't experienced,
Mhm.
and I'm demanding, and if I charge, let's say I charge $2,000 more than you charge, $3,000 more than you charge, and you're twice as experienced as me, and I'm telling you I'm worth 9 grand, and I don't know what you're worth, but I'm worth 9 grand for my photo package. That's what I'm worth. I have a year and a half in this business. I've dealt with, dealt with brides for a year and a half, and well, like, and and this is a hard conversation because you're ascribing worth to people's skill, but at the same time, like, let's take someone like me who's like, I do kind of want to scale back in weddings a little bit,
Mhm.
um, and I don't charge that much, and I don't charge like a ridiculous amount. I've been slowly upping my prices, but if I decide, that I want to charge that much money and it's up to the brides if they want to book me, I'm not sitting here arrogantly claiming that I'm worth that. Like that's my choice. And so is it overpriced? Yeah. Like as long as you realize that you're overpricing yourself because, maybe you have a unique look and someone's going to like the bride's going to make their decision.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a lack of self-awareness, I think, sometimes in the industry. But
Yeah.
let's move on.
That's a
Here's
difficult answer.
here's something that has always been intriguing about you as a business owner to me. Um, you've been in the wedding space, been in the commercial space. You've worked with some high clientele in the commercial space, with Samsonite being one of the more recent ones.
Hmm.
Um, did some great work for them. Love the videos, photos. Um, you don't really seem like that ambitious of a business owner. I've always noticed that about you, where it's just like, yeah, money, yeah, whatever, yeah, yeah. Like you could build out the wedding business, you could kind of blow that up more, um, but you don't really seem that interested in it.
Uh, it's a hard choice. I kind of had a feeling this would come up, like scaling and stuff. And it's something I've always like. I've hired an admin person,
Hmm.
um, and part time, and then I think pandemic complicated it. I tried to train an editor, and same thing. Like it's like
So, is that a goal for you?
to
Um,
expand.
yeah, to expand and kind of do more there, or are you more just like, no, I would like to make X amount a year. I'm comfortable on that, and I like to enjoy life. You have other hobbies, obviously, you work out and skateboard, and vacation and all that. So it's like, is that kind of you like that kind of balance?
I do like the balance. I think there is going to be a balance where I find a middle ground between where I am now and scaling up in like a major way. Like, um, I feel like I am kind of at a crossroads. I turned 30 last August,
Mm.
and that just the idea of like, starting my 30s, it definitely does influence my like train of thought a little. Like, okay, it's like a new decade. What's next? Like, what's the next thing? And it's between scaling up and like doing something a little bigger or moving to a new area, possibly.
Really?
I've been thinking about moving south. I don't know. I don't know how
How far
serious I am
south?
about it. Like
South
North
Carolina?
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina?
Yeah. I have friends going there, and it's just something I've been thinking about, and
We just
I
got
don't know.
back from South Carolina, and I loved it. There's a
Yeah?
great vibe down there.
Yeah, I know.
It's very different than up here.
Very different.
It kind of looks like up here, but with palm trees, it's a little warmer.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in Greenville, South Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, I've had some friends there, and that's actually where the first college was that I went to, and yeah, it's nice. I've never been to North Carolina, and my friends are moving to Charlotte. Um, I might go down and visit just to see what the vibe is. But something like that would be the complete opposite route of what you're saying, where be kind of expanding a little, scaling. Moving to a new area would be starting over and building from the bottom up, kind of redefining, which would be exciting because it's like you're kind of getting rid of all the clutter, and you can redefine your business and take the last 10 years of what I've learned and put it on paper, so to speak, like just kind of like collect all the information, say, okay, what would I do if I could start over?
Right.
And then if I move, it's like I could start over. Um, and it would really be almost heartbreaking to start over from a, putting in the work perspective, making new connections, starting from the ground up, but also exciting. Yeah, no, I am definitely at a crossroads, especially because now that I'm getting like the past couple of years, I have been really like I'm making a lot of connections in the fitness industry.
Mhm.
Nothing huge, obviously nothing like Samsonite or a big commercial company, but shooting for, just a lot of um decently, decent names in the fitness industry and gyms, and which is kind of like my dream clientele is doing fitness. And clients like Samsonite, just like I feel like the snowball is rolling that I've been trying to get rolling for a very long time.
Mhm.
Obviously, like you said, I'm not super ambitious with it, but I feel like
Yeah.
I'm
Well, not
starting
that there's anything wrong with that. I just,
to.
because I'm like so, I want to capitalize on opportunity in the moment and all that. Like I feel like I'm very ambitious, and I feel like you've always just kind of been like, yeah, like that's cool. Like still doing business, but like you could be doing like way more. I felt like,
Yeah.
you know.
I think, you know what I think it is? When I finish school, and this might just be me discovering this for myself right now. Like I haven't really thought too much in
But
depth
you're
about that.
content. I feel like it's a good thing.
Content. But when I finished school, I never really wanted to do weddings initially. But towards the end of the school year, before graduation, I decided to give weddings a chance to pay the bills, save some money, start assisting big commercial photographers, or get my foot in the door in the commercial world.
Hmm.
But what happened was weddings just took off, like, and that's how the wedding industry is. One bride tells 10 brides, and then those 10 brides tell 10 more, um and it just every year was busier and busier and busier. And
Right.
my ADHD self trying to learn weddings, that growth each year, I think was like more than enough to keep me busy. um and maybe the younger me, the early 20s Brian, settled a little bit, settled for a small commercial job once in a while, and 90% weddings.
Hmm.
Um, and feel like the past,
In retrospect, do you feel like you would have taken a different approach? Like, hey, you know what? As much as the weddings pays the bill, I'm gonna pursue this commercial thing. Or I'm gonna pursue what I really love doing.
I don't know. I did learn a lot of good business practice from weddings.
Hmm.
Um, it's like I got I got easy clients. It came naturally. A lot of word of mouth obviously is huge, like in the wedding industry. Um, and you're when you get that much business, you're kind of forced into learning, uh, how to run a business, and how to, you know, just maintain relationships with clients, and just the regular business stuff. And I definitely learned a lot from it. And yeah, they cross over a little bit. Like a lot of people that I know from the wedding industry also shoot commercial, kind of
Right.
like I do, and so there's some crossover. And I do enjoy weddings.
Yeah.
Hopefully none of my wedding clients are watching
Yeah,
this.
it's tough. I mean, it's tough coming on a podcast because you got to get honest and be transparent. And we don't screen these questions.
I
There's no screening, and maybe I should.
I enjoy weddings.
I was thinking about doing some kind of form before
When
my guests, like how comfortable are you talking about weddings? How comfortable are you talking about
nah,
finances? How comfortable are you talking about
nah,
XYZ? No, don't do it.
don't do it.
Right? Just keep it.
Keep it raw.
Yeah, that's what I figured. All right, I got a question for you, and this is for our viewers here, because we really want this podcast to be an educational space and a space where young entrepreneurs can be motivated and encouraged. So, what do you feel like were some very defining moments or things that like really contributed to your success?
Hmm. So one thing I always tell people is to totally like exhaust the opportunities and resources that you've been given. So a lot of times, for example, like there'll be a young photographer who wants to get started, but they don't feel like have been dealt the right hand of cards just to get started. They don't know anybody. They don't know what to do and all this stuff. I've always believed that most people know somebody that they can use as a subject for a photo shoot or a connection or something. Like it doesn't have. It could be your brother. It could
Right.
be your uncle. Barley, stay.
Oh,
He's
he's
like
gonna do his own thing.
he looked back like
No, I gotta see what this is.
and it's just like making the most out of every opportunity that you have, like because it's family sometimes, like like early on, like if it's family that you can do a photo shoot for, let's say your uncle has uh, like a shop, like it's a little mom and pop shop downtown, and you're like, oh, like you've known him your whole life, that's my uncle, like I need like real opportunity. It's like no,
Mm,
like that's someone in your circle who trusts you to do whatever you want for that business. Like you can make a promotional video for that business.
right.
Like just imagine that that's like a random person that like wants to hire you, and that's gonna lead to something else. Everything leads,
Right. That's so
connections.
true. Like there's so much opportunity. Opportunity is like any need, you know? It's like if you could feel any need, you look around and like what are the needs? Like there's somebody in need,
Yeah.
you know? A business owner, restaurateur, um, and I agree with you. Like I feel like that was something I learned from one of my teachers. He said opportunity comes to those who handle opportunity well, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
And along the same line as that, one of the things I've been learning from, I'm not a huge reader, but there's this one book I read years ago, and then these two other books I listened as audiobooks over the years. All three of them just kind of ingrained the idea that clarity comes with action. And that's the wording that I got from
Mm,
the first book, which is The Art of Work by Jeff Goins. Great book. But he said clarity comes with action. And then, I learned from these other books. One of them was like, I think it was Spark, the effective exercise on your brain and stuff. And he goes into this chapter about just like when you have anxiety and stress about something, it's kind of like having fear. And when you have the fear, like you're usually stunned. But if you actually take a step forward and you take action, you're actually like you're
mm,
chemically like reprogramming your brain, and you're like making a new connection with that fear. So when you have anxiety and fear and you don't know what to do or indecision, and you actually take a step forward and just you know take action, you're actually like you're actually doing something in your brain, like chemically, like, and the more you do that, the more you associate that I guess feeling with taking action and doing something about it, and.
Yeah, I feel like stress and fear, they can be like good indicators. They can motivate you.
Hmm,
Um, but yeah, for
sure.
sure. I remember I used to get dreams all the time about my footage. Be afraid of losing footage,
Yeah.
and it made me like, all right, I got to research like how do I back up my stuff.
Yeah.
What's this dog doing?
I used to have
Is he
nightmares
gonna come
about
back? Did
about
you?
missing weddings
Oh yeah,
or
I used to
missing
get
events,
those.
showing up like halfway through the ceremony. Man,
Yeah, weddings are high stakes.
yes. Yeah, they are. But yeah, I think make the most of every opportunity, taking action. And the last thing would be like just be open to be open to things that you don't picture yourself doing. Like you could intend on being a food and beverage photographer right now.
Hmm.
You could intend on being a sports photographer. Um, but take opportunities, and they're all going to lead to something else, and you might discover something you like even more.
Mm.
And looking back, you're going to be happy that you made those changes. Like your path changes, your career path changes, and what you do 10 years from now might be totally different than what you thought you were going to be doing. um, so
Hmm.
I don't know.
Like it. All right, a couple low ball questions right here. First one: who's your favorite local photographer?
Ooh. I'm really bad with researching other photographers. Like, I don't know.
You must follow people in the area though.
Yeah, like people that we know.
It could be people we know, or it could be, it doesn't have to be in our circle necessarily.
Man, I wasn't ready for this question.
Not many people are.
Sean Brown is my favorite.
I can't be the favorite, nor can this company be the favorite.
I was joking.
Well,
Oh, just kidding. Kidding about being kidding. Mm. Ah, man. The only thing I can do is like think back to like my instructors from school and like older photographers. Like, I would say the most influential photographer for me has been Gregory Heisler, one of my instructor from school, but also the way that he presented Arnold Newman to us, which is a photographer that he assisted
hmm.
way back. Uh, just just like the approach that Arnold Newman took to composition, and that's a lot, honestly, like really what influenced my love for composition and the theory and everything behind it. That was probably like the most influential couple. Barley's pushing around the yoga ball thing. Yeah, that was very influential for me. But photographers, I don't know, man. Get what genre? Photographer
So
genre.
weddings.
I knew you were gonna say weddings.
That's kind of catered towards weddings.
Um, wedding photographers.
All right, we're gonna move on to
Dude, I
another
don't know.
question. We're gonna move on to another question.
Who's your favorite wedding
You know what?
photographer?
I can't even. I can't even with you right now. All right, let's talk about the client experience.
Okay,
Are you gonna give me a photographer?
I'll think about that. Let's come back to it.
Okay. All right. What are some things? Because we need some content for our brides out there.
Hmm. The
The
brides.
brides. This is for
Don't do
you.
it.
Oh God. Um, what are some things that you feel like you always get like those 14 questions that you should ask your photographer, right? Sometimes clients will
Mm,
that they found in like the Knot magazine or something. But
yeah.
what do you feel like some actual things from a photographer's perspective that a bride should be thinking about when it comes to photography and or their video?
I would I I think asking for a full gallery is important, and that's something that I don't encounter very
And
much.
why do you say that?
because, well, I suppose a photographer can have like, they might have galleries per couple on their website and have, 20 or 30 pictures from one wedding, which is helpful. But I think the majority of photographers are just going to have the highlights and the best of the best photos. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They're going to have the best of the best. They're going to have one picture, two pictures from each wedding.
You're right.
Um,
I agree
and
with you. They're gonna put the best of the best on
and
Instagram and all that.
the client's not paying for two great shots of the two of them. They're
Right.
paying for, 1,000 photos from every
Great details.
moment of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
The ceremony,
Candid.
family formals, the bridal party,
Yeah.
the introduction, speeches,
Yeah.
dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I 100% agree. And you're right. Clients really don't ask.
Yeah.
Well, with us they do for the most part, but
Yeah.
not always.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
that's
it's
good.
surprising.
And I've seen some really great photographers, which I think they like really excel in like portraits,
Yeah.
but like the rest of the wedding isn't that great,
Right. Yeah.
because they're more portrait photographer.
Yeah, that composition, when it comes to candids, sometimes all composition goes out the window at the candids.
Hmm.
It's
Full gallery. I think that's a very good advice to those brides out there. Absolutely, I 100% agree with you. Anything else that they should be thinking about when it comes to photo or video?
just portfolio. Just look at their portfolio. Listen, I don't want my income to be 80% weddings, you know? And this year it was awesome. I mean, 2021 was great with that. It might have been like 60 to 70% weddings,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge for me. Cuz like I set as a goal, I think it might have been 2000, beginning of 2020. I think I set a goal to have 25% commercial income,
Mm-hmm.
25% of my income to be commercial work, or non-wedding work, I guess is what I really said.
Mm-hmm.
And 2021 was, huge. Like I went far beyond 25% with that, which is great. And I definitely do want to do weddings for the rest of my life, but maybe like 12 a year is my goal.
Yeah, that's fair.
12 to 16.
Just a few more questions here for you before we wrap up. What's next for the company?
What's next? Like I said earlier, like I do feel like there's something. I do feel like, how you ever feel like you're hitting a ceiling and you just gotta like shatter through it almost,
Yeah.
and kind of like introduce something new or expand or just switch it up. I do feel like that there needs to be something soon. So what's next? I'm not sure what that is. This year is definitely going to be crazy for weddings.
Yeah.
Very slow and
How many are you
steady.
doing this year?
I have like 31, I think,
Wow.
maybe 32. I cut it off a few weeks ago. I said no more. And then I met this guy last like winter. I met this guy in a ski lift going up Wildcat Mountain, and me and my friend just struck up conversation with him. Topo Chico. And he said his daughter's getting married, and so we just talked about the wedding. And right before we got off the lift, I gave him a card. I'm like, yeah, like your daughter's getting married on top of Wildcat Mountain. That sounds awesome. Like, here's a card. I do video and photo and whatever. Didn't hear anything. I totally forgot about it until like 3 days ago. She, the girl getting married, emailed me, and I was like, I cut off weddings, but you're getting married on top of Wildcat, and that sounds awesome. So I think I'm at 32 now. Anyways, all that to say, yeah, it's gonna be busy. I think this is the most I've ever done for a year, but it's gonna be easier than last year, because last year was like so many in June, and then it was like real slow, and then end of August to like early November was just ridiculous, and I was like behind like 15 weddings. I was behind editing, and I dug myself out of it. But this year's slow and steady, so I think it's gonna really enable me to um, really invest in more commercial work and
Mhm.
be able to keep up with that, as far as like turnaround times and, just maintain those relationships and hopefully reach out, to new clients.
Yeah. You said you got a backlog with video. That's pretty typical of video editors, especially video editors who are also business owners.
Yeah,
How do you keep up with that demand? Like, what are your turnaround time expectations? Do you feel like you hit them?
yeah.
You go over them? Um, and how long does it take you to edit video? Because I know that's one of the more time consuming things.
For sure. Like last fall, I definitely went over my due dates. Like I was
Yeah. How do
late
you deal
on
with
a
those
lot
client
of them.
reactions? Are they
Um,
hitting you up?
my big thing is to just keep them in the loop. Like, if I have 3 to 5 weeks and my contractor, that's what I say verbally, like, um,
Is that what you're saying for video? 5 weeks?
3 to 5, for the highlight reel, like on average. Um,
That's kind of quick.
yeah, typically I'm pushing 4 to 5. It's usually not 3.
How long does it take you to
Um,
edit a highlight film?
I would say culling and syncing everything probably like, um, 3 to 4 hours, maybe 5, depending on, how long the wedding was, and then maybe 12 hours of compiling the highlight reel. Obviously, that's divided up throughout days. It's not just one day or two
Yeah.
days.
So you're almost looking at 20 hours there.
Yeah, maybe pretty much 20.
So I mean, if you were doing, you could do two a week,
I
but you're
could
shooting on top of that. You're
shooting,
answering emails on top of that. You're
running the
sending invoices.
business,
Yeah. So
other, non-wedding work.
in a healthy way, you could probably maybe do one.
Yeah, yeah. One, it's like I could do, like, doing a photo gallery might take almost as long as a video.
20 hours?
Maybe not almost as, yeah, probably maybe up to 12, anywhere from like 8 to 15
Yeah.
hours.
How many images are
Um,
you delivering?
I would say like from 8 to 15 hours of editing, probably that would be like maybe 600 to like 1200 ish. If it's a
Oh
10
yeah,
hour
that's
day
a
with
big jump. Yeah.
if it's a 10-hour day with two shooters, maybe 13, 1400.
Hmm.
And that's like, I don't want to deliver that many, but it's just like, when you have a great second shooter and it's a long day, and let's say there's very little driving in between venues so you're just shooting the whole day. Like, yeah, it's getting up to the 12, 1300s for sure. It's hard to cut it down at that point because there's so many different moments of the day and each shot is so unique. But, um, yeah, turnaround times are tough. But this year, like, so as I said, this year is so spread out. Like, I've already shot maybe 4 or 5,
Hmm.
and it's we're just getting into May. Whereas last year I shot my first one in the beginning of June.
Right.
So this year goes from like I had one in January and then started in April. Busy, like the season started in April and it's going all the way to November, and it's all so spread out. So
Well, I think
be
like
able to keep up.
strategic planning like that, and then the discipline of saying no, because when
Yeah.
someone's waving, hey, 3, 5 grand at you, hey, I want you to shoot my wedding,
Right.
that's the discipline of saying no. If you're trying to keep to a schedule
Yeah.
and you want to hit those turnaround times, and you're spreading out your weddings,
And for me, it's not only just the turnaround times, it's also, so weddings book you a year in advance, more like a year and a half in advance, sometimes like 6 months, whatever. Commercial clients are gonna call you and ask you if you're free in a week or two,
Mm,
and then they're gonna want the product, and they're gonna want the edit, the rough draft in less than a week, and then with the final draft being a week and a half. Like we need, or even sometimes less because they need to get the video out. Maybe it's an ad that they want to run. Every project's different, but it's like I don't know what I'm going to be booking for commercial clients this summer. If I book 10 more weddings, I'm going to just be so overwhelmed that
yeah.
I'm going to be sacrificing those opportunities in the commercial side of things. And also with the weddings, like I do want to keep doing weddings. I do want to keep doing commercial, and I don't want to have to compromise on either one, just because the commercial clients haven't booked me for August yet. So I'm going to book a bunch of weddings, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of keeping your schedule open for
Right.
those opportunities that aren't actually
Aren't here
here.
yet, which
You
is
know,
the hardest part because, it's like money now or take a risk and hope to book work later. Uh,
well, I think that's an act of faith, and I think if you're actually trying to transition into doing a lower volume of weddings and into doing a higher volume of things that you're maybe more passionate about, um, then I feel like yeah, you have to take that risk.
yeah, for sure. And I think, speaking of being passionate about projects, like what I found is the less weddings that I do, the more passionate I am about them. If I have 5 weddings in the backlog, like let's say 5 wedding videos and 3 galleries and that are backlogged, like I really wish I could put my 100% into each one of those videos. But at the end of the day, like I'm gonna put a lot more into, if I have 1 in the backlog, 2 in the backlog videos. I'm gonna treat it like a craft, and I'm gonna make a film, a wedding film. It's gonna be cinematography. We throw around those words versus video or cinema, and it's like,
Right.
but you know what I mean. It's like the more you restrain yourself, the more you can really focus on each project. And then there's the balance between, if you're not charging enough, you feel like you have to book more. You have to overbook yourself,
Right.
and then it comes down to
Well, I
overpricing.
think there's a cost.
They're all related.
I think there's a cost to scale.
Yeah.
Where if you're doing 10, 15, 20, 25 weddings, right? It's like you could probably handle that all by yourself. Um, when you start getting into those higher numbers, you need you need help. You need people to manage. You need people to edit for you,
Right.
and then it's just like, are you really making? You might be making the same at 15 weddings that you are at 30 weddings,
Yeah.
but you're losing some of the margin because you need help with the post production or the pre production. And we brought Barley back on for the outro of this podcast. Want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank my guest Brian for being here. Any last bit of wisdom you have for the viewers when it comes to creative leadership
Creative leadership.
or business entrepreneur?
I'll say this: it's supposed to be fun.
Hmm.
I may seem like intense, or like I think about this stuff very intensely all the time and everything, but actually that's not true, because you said I'm just like, eh.
I think that's really good advice. It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's not so serious. I mean, you got to put food on your table, but have fun with it. Seriously, like, and just appreciate people, value people, like, and give people the benefit of the doubt. That'll reward you in the long term.
I love that. All right. Thanks for tuning in again. Brian, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you?
You can find me not only at Move Mountains right now, but on the internet,
.com?
briankeithmedia.com, or social medias, Brian Keith Media.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you guys for listening. And we will be back with another episode of Moving the Mountain, a creative leadership podcast.
Thank you.